Okay, so I will do a quick research about that line documentary. I know this guy, I know the guy that was working on the translation, so I will see if it's being released or something. And then I'll send to you all the link. But I do recommend, it's a very nice documentary, and perhaps one of those days we can discuss about the book. There is a book, named Deadline as well, but it's a very interesting one. And okay, yeah, I forgot. I
Was
said
that in English? In English, Anna? The
book. I want to say yes, because several books from Chico has been translated, but I don't know. I don't know. The one that I read was in Portuguese. The and yes, I said before that it was when we went through the second World War, but no, Maria was she's right. It was when the moon stepped in, the man stepped into the moon and landed, and then but we did that. Remember when we say that we have to evolve through two bases or criteria, intellectual and moral, right? So when we did that, when we landed in the moon, we were demonstrated that intellectually, oh God, we were doing pretty fine, but morally, we didn't have the moral still to meet other civilizations, or to do things like that. So that was the concern. Maria, please.
The deadline ended in 2019. We are not in the deadline. The deadline passed.
Yeah, that's what I said. We passed the probation time, so we are in transition.
No, not past the probation time, because in the beginning of regeneration,
Maria, quando eu digo probation, é o tempo, foi o tempo que nos foi dado.
Ah, ok, tá bom, obrigada.
Yeah, so she was concerned about the terminology that I use, because she's saying we are not in regeneration, and that's exactly right. We are not in regeneration. We are still in transition. But
the deadline ended in 2019.
Yeah.
When the Coreia do Norte estava querendo guerrear. Como é que fala isso em inglês aí? Com a bomba atômica.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. She's saying that
ficamos super preocupados com isso.
So she's saying that that probation time did end when the North Korea was kind of talking about nuclear war, using their nuclear bomb. So finally we didn't, so it was a good thing. But yeah, Leda, please.
This thing that the man went to the moon, that's important, because we started to have the power to affect other civilizations of other planets. So that's why the governors of all the other planets were concerned about us, because we were demonstrating that we could affect their lives and their environment. So that's why Christ had to take these measures, these very strict measures.
And which is very funny that we started with this conversation today, because exactly this week, I will not mention the name of the country because, we are recording this, but there was another country, the fourth country, that landed on the moon as well. And then that made me think, oh my goodness, why are they investing the money on doing this instead of investing the money to support their population. You know, so many people that doesn't know how to read, how to write, women suffering a lot, children suffering a lot, starvation all over, basic, very basic needs, but still there is a minority of the population so concentrated on moving on with the technology, which is fine, is good, but that is demonstrating, you know, we are still insisting in the same mistake. We believe that evolving intellectually only is the way, but you know, we are looking for the moon, but not looking inside our own house, you know, looking, you know, in the street. And I can only imagine, you know, someone from that country coming back home from the office, you know, after working on this project, put the man in the moon, their man in the moon, and then as that person goes back home, passes by children, you know, beggars, and, you know, and they think this is normal, isn't it? So us is anyway, but, you know, that's how we go, you know, here and there, here and there. So if Luis was here, I know he would have a lot to say, because he has, as a matter of fact, it's going to be one of the topics he will cover in our gathering is about the Aryan people. And guess who are the Aryans here on Earth? So, see, they're still doing the same thing. I mean, when I read the news this week, I was, oh, my goodness, yeah, still Aryans, still doing the same things for thousands of years, despite the knowledge that they have, and, you know, so good. Evidently, we are not talking about the entire population, because that same country, you know, produced wonderful people, and anyway, wonderful knowledge. So I'm so excited, because, you know, in a very few days, I'm going to Brazil, and then I will meet everybody. Oh my goodness, can help myself.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask on next week. We'll have the meeting normally.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we are not having meeting. I put some agenda together later, exactly to talk about that. So
Okay.
August 26th. So let's start with Suzanne Wilson's meditation. Try to forget about all the deadline stuff and the tribulations and problems. Let's concentrate, try to meditate, take a deep breath, concentrate in the higher beings, and listen to Suzanne's meditation.
Sit upright in a chair, both feet on the floor. Yoga students may prefer the half lotus position, or you may need to lie down with a pillow under your knees to support your back. Let your hands rest in your lap, palms facing up. Close your eyes and mouth and breathe gently through your nose. With each inhale, visualize white light entering your body. And as you exhale, let all your breath out slowly, breathing in white light and breathing out all stress, anxiety, letting it go. Simply be in the now, the present, this very moment. Divine Source, thank you for blessing me with this day, with my life and all my many blessings. Thank you for giving me another day to be of service in this life and in this body. I ask that you cleanse me in divine white light, erasing all energy that does not belong in my auric field. Surround me in a beautiful, translucent, golden bubble of protection that is bathed in your divine white light, sealing in all my positive energies and good health, sealing out all negative energies, all ill health, all entities from lower realms, and I send white light to the lower realms, so that only peace, love, and protection may enter in. I give gratitude for my spiritual team, spirit guides, angels, and my loved ones in the light. I send this light out to each of my loved ones on both the physical plane and the spiritual plane. I send this light out to all those in need of a physical, emotional, or spiritual healing. I connect with universal consciousness. I connect with all beings who are in meditation at this moment. I am eternal. I am one with Divine Source. I am one with all. Compassion guides all my thoughts, words, actions, and I trust that I will complete my greater work before I transition to heavenly home with gratitude and joy. I am a child of God. And so it is.
All right. Okay, that's very good. So yeah, so we were talking about the agenda and the schedule. So today is the 26th, so that's gonna be the last meeting to talk about the book, The Messengers. And next Saturday, no meeting, because then we'll be, crazy organizing things. And then September the 7th to 10th is going to be the gathering. We will try to hold meetings online, but honestly, I really do not know if our connection, Wi-Fi, etc., will be good enough to sustain something like this. I will send a note to everybody if we can, at the end of the day, if we are able to. But for sure, we will record everything. And then on September the 16th, which is the Saturday after, then that will be a regular meeting. We'll be back. But so next week no meeting, and then the following one is gonna be the gathering, and we are back to normal on the 16th. Any question?
I believe that on Saturday we'll be in Thiago Maior.
The
And we'll-
Spirit Center,
Yeah, and we'll have the connection there. I think so.
Yes. The idea is to hold the meeting, you know, even earlier, because there'll be several people talking. So the president of the Spirit Center, Luis, will be talking, Leda and Livia will be talking. So
And Luis wanted Carol and Gloria to say a word to the Brazilian people, right? To talk
yes.
about their experience in these leads.
Yes, yes. So we want to hold that meeting even earlier. Yeah, so I hope it's gonna be fine, because then I expect that the Wi-Fi connection, etc., in the Spirit Center is gonna be good enough for us to do that. But I do not know when we are in the countryside if it's gonna be good enough for us to hold that meeting online. But sure, we'll have recordings. Oh, I want to say something. And I stopped recording. Am I still recording?
Yes, you are.
Let me do this. That's okay. I will say after, because I'm afraid if I stop recording, then I will mess up with this. But anyway, okay. So before we talk about the book, I thought it was so nice. Well, what I saw in this small video that someone sent to me. It is about reincarnation, and somebody sent to me this video over here. This is Gabriel. He plays piano, but he is only 1 year old, like less than 1 year old, less than 2 years old. Oops, stop. Yeah, it's cute, isn't it? It's so cute. So talking about that line, this is one of the things that Chico mentioned in the, you know, the spirits, they mentioned that would happen as we enter into the transition period. So spirits like this, you know, they would help us to pass through the transition. You know, we will see more and more children with, you know, higher intellectual level, or children like this, he can remember exactly, you know, something that he learned probably in one of his past lives. So, and since we are talking about oh, I have it over here. Astro City is not Astro City. Is about the messenger. Why was the book The Messenger chose to be the second book of this series? Again, it is the sequence of Astro City and calls attention to the fact that humankind has been strongly guided by this intellect only. So we need to not only expand our reasoning, our understanding, but also enlighten it. So that's why those guys are coming with this kind of skills and knowledge to help us, you know, get through this period. Okay, so we are talking about the book The Messengers. So we saw that, we mentioned this book again. It was written by the end of 1943, and Chico finished by end of February 1944. This is about, the chapter 21st is about, the title is Those Who Sleep. Unfortunately, Luis cannot be here today. He wanted to discuss about this, but and Leda and Maria, if you know about more about what this chapter mentions, but it's supposed to talk about a place named Peace.
Peace
Field, something like this, yeah, in a very literal translation is Peace Field. So this chapter talks about the folks. So Andre Luiz, he goes to this place. The name of the place is Peace Field, and over there are a bunch of several spirits, you know, tons of spirits, thousands of them. And that place is supposed to hold those who are still in the state of absolute denial of life after death. So those guys who lives over here, you know, in denial and not really paying attention to the spiritual aspects of our lives, and you know, anyway, so those living in denial, then not all of them, but you know, that place, it was supposed to hold those folks like this. So Leda, you want to mention something?
Yeah, this place is kind of a city, but it's based in the lower realms, right? So it's like a city inside a castle, inside walls, and it helps receiving spirits from the earth that are arriving, and they are not so elevated as to be in Astral City. It's a lower place. So some spirits there, they receive a vacation in Astral City as a reward for the good work that they do. So that you understand that it's the frequency and the vibration that the spirits have there is heavier than in Astral City. And this place is governed by Alfredo. And Alfredo has a wife who is Ismalia. And Ismalia is a very much higher spirit than he is. So he has, when they were here on Earth, a friend accused her of cheating on him, and she didn't. But he didn't believe her, just like Emmanuel and Livia in exactly. 2,000 years ago, right? And then when she goes visit him, she stays there for like 6 months of the year, and the other 6 months she goes to a much higher city, higher than Astral City, because she is a much more evolved spirit. And then one of the jobs that they have there is to try to help these spirits that stay in this huge pavilion where they sleep. And why do they sleep? Because they always thought that there was nothing in the afterlife. They had this very huge and strict idea. They have their minds very established in that belief, right? They didn't consider that there was anything. They are very materialistic spirits, and they lived according to this conviction that
To
they
their
have.
belief, yes.
Yeah,
And they are not taken to that place. They are actually attracted to that place, right? So it's not
Yeah.
a punishment. It's just their natural.
yeah, they are in a sort of way they are protected there because they were not in the hands of evil people, evil spirits,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So in a way they are protected there, but they are also in very difficult nightmares because they as they were materialistic, they ended up doing some things that they regret. They ended up behaving like according to only their own interests and not helping anyone, and not so they sleep, but they don't have a peaceful and calm sleep. They have nightmares about things that they have done, right?
It is exactly like it says. It demonstrates how to help spirits. I mean, Alfredo and Ismalia, they were doing that. Who fall asleep, magnetized by their own negative conceptions acquired in the physical life. So that's exactly how they were living. And it's very interesting because like Leda was saying, Alfredo was the governor of this place. He was the head of this place. Ismalia, by choice, she decided to help him. She was visiting. She was not staying in that place because she didn't belong to that place. But she was, by choice, she was coming and helping them and those spirits. So Alfredo and Ismalia lead the rescue team to this huge pavilion where those who sleep a total of, well, they mentioned this, 1980 discarnates, receive food and medication. That was surprising, right? So food and medication once a day. So one sees beds occupied by entities plunged into the deep sleep as if they were mummies. Like Leda was saying, they were in deep sleep, but then it was not a peaceful one. Alfredo says that he only has 80 assistants. Like Leda was saying, those spirits, even though they were materialistic, they didn't believe in the afterlife, etc., 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 but still they have been helped by all these folks, 80 assistants, and each of whom must attain at least 5 sleepers. And but at the end of the day, statistics, out of 9,980, only 400 receive vibrational assistance, as they are more susceptible to awakening, and that 2/3 of the 400 receive magnetic passes and feel the healing breath. And the reason why they were selecting this, because those were the ones, perhaps close to a situation where they could be, they could awake. What else it says over here? Yeah, so Leda, Maria, any other comment here?
That one of these chapters, I think this is maybe this one, describes a beautiful prayer that Ismalia leads, and it's very, if you could read later, because Andre Luiz, when the book begins, he receives a treatment in Astro City, and he starts to see things that he didn't before. So he starts to see the spiritual things in a more, he visualizes spiritual energy better because of the treatment that he receives in his eyes and in his spiritual body. So when she prays, Ismalia prays, they pray as a group for these spirits, and I think 2 or 3 awaken.
Oh wait, yeah.
But the beautiful thing is her prayer is very touching, very beautiful, and a very nice thing is that he describes that during the prayer, each of the spirits that are praying, the workers, they have different kind of lightning. So some, like Ismalia and the more evolved spirits, they have I don't remember the colors now, but they have this very beautiful and strong light. And the other spirits that are not as evolved, they have light as well, but it's not as brilliant. And then he starts describing each class, if you can say so, each kind of spirit and each kind of worker, and the kind of light that they emit, right?
Yeah,
And
according to their evolution, their
yeah, and he's
energy
very
level.
happy. He's very happy to see that he himself is emitting some light.
Yes,
It's not such a big light, but he is
he's
emitting
glowing. For the
he's
first time, he
glowing,
noticed that
yeah.
he's glowing.
He
Yeah.
could see that he was glowing, and it's very emotional, this part. It's very
Yeah.
beautiful.
He described, yeah, because and that, as a matter of fact, that is just calling attention to the fact when you actually say a prayer from the heart and you are guided guided by someone, like in this case, the prayer from Ismalia was so touching, was so pretty, that everybody started to get into the same motion, into the same level of energy. And then, Andre Luiz, when they were looking at that, they were glowing. It's very nice when they say that. Maria, thank you, Leda. Was very nice. Yeah, I didn't remember that part.
Here we can see peoples that never gave themselves over the activity and renewing good around them. We're trying to do this in our lives nowadays, but we need to pay attention about com que frequência, how I can say it in English, Ana? Com que frequência?
Which frequency we
How often?
Often, oh, thank you. How often we are doing the good for us and the other peoples. But it is different to do the good how I think about it. Not it's different the good to the people. We need to work, we need to do something. Not what I think that is good for the people, but what really is good for them.
Oh, okay. So not based on based on our personal opinion, what is good, but based on the real need.
Yes. Because if you do what you think that is right, only what you think that's right, you are an individual actions. And
good point.
we can believe in life before that, but we need to live like people that really believe on it.
Mhm.
I can't be one person here and be another on the other side. We need to do the good during our life here, because if I don't, probably I can't sleep after life.
Yeah.
I can stay inert. How I can say it in English?
Inner, yeah, you can like no motion, like those in deep sleep.
Then I
Still,
think to do the real good we can, mesmo que, how can say it in English?
Hmm?
Fazer
Okay.
o bem independente da minha opinião, mesmo
Oh,
que seja diferente do que eu acredito.
do the good, despite the fact that I believe in something else, but keep on doing the good. Yeah, what Maria is saying is very important, because sometimes we think like we are doing a great thing if we give money, if we donate money, when in reality someone needs, you know, a hug, or, you know, needs somebody by their side, you know. I used to say that to my folks, to my family, it's so easy to give, to donate money, but how about donating your time? To me, is even more valuable, you know. Staying away, you know, be of a company to someone in the, you know, in the hospitals or whatever, you know, somebody that is alone, living alone. So that's what Maria is saying, you know, do the good based on the need of the people, not what I think is good for me to do, because sometimes I'm just thinking about my own convenience, right? And also, I guess this chapter calls our attention about what we really believe. You know, be careful with your belief, because those folks, they are there because they truly believe there was nothing, there was no afterlife, and or some of them, they believed. I was about to say, but I'll hold it. They believe, you know, that once we die, nothing's gonna happen until we stay asleep until Jesus comes to resurrect everybody, and then believe. Guess what's gonna happen to them? They will continue to stay in a deep sleep, right? So it's a very interesting chapter.
Anna, only one thing more. Those who believe in eternal life, even if they are not fundamentally Christians, are developing faculties of spiritual movement and can penetrate the spiritual plane in a better state. At least in terms of locomotion and more or less exactly judgment. And
yeah. So as long as you believe in something, is much better than, you know, the agnostic people. Yeah, no doubt. Yes. So then this chapter 35 is about talks about gospel at home. Gospel at home is a how can I say, is a habit, is a tradition within the Spiritist families in Brazil. So what happens is they pick a day, like I do over here, you know, even though I am by myself, but I do in my house. I pick a day, which is today, Saturday. I do every Tuesdays. I pick a day and a time, and then I just keep on doing on that day and a time. And what we do is we select a book, we open, we read, we say what our understanding is about that reading, and then we in my case, I'm using the gospel according to Spiritism, so I read you know, a small piece of the small paragraph, and I say it out loud. Because the thing is, even though I am here by myself, I mean, I am the only incarnated one, because it's not uncommon that I have discarnated ones around me. And the thing is, why you pick a day, why you pick an hour? Because your guides, you know, the folks helping you, the folks helping your household, your families, they will be there. They know you are, you know, scheduled to be there at that time. So they will program themselves to be there for you. So that's why it's so important for you to pick a day, to pick a time, and be consistent. Discipline, discipline, discipline. Concentration is very important. You cannot pick a day and then, okay, so let me see what the phone, and no, forget about the phone. Put the phone aside. Don't even answer. Put it on silent, you know, but be there, concentrate, because those guys, they have tons of other things to do. It's not just you. They have tons of other things to do. I put it over here. Ideally, all members of the household will participate, but if not, because sometimes you are the only one, you know, who believes in that, fine, that's okay. But the main idea is for the families to get together. It's like a very nice time for the whole family to get together. Read out loud, I said, we are never alone. Oh yeah, gospel at home should not turn into a mediumistic meeting. So over here in this chapter, they describe a gospel at home, somebody doing the gospel at home, what they see from the spiritual side, what they see from the spiritual realm. So they see all the spirits coming, and with the higher beings, with the good spirits, they bring sometimes spirits related to that family, or, you know, sometimes not related, but somebody who needs to listen to what you're going to read about, what you're going to say about. And then it's not going to be uncommon that they will influence the folks, you know, as they talk, as they discuss the topic, as they discuss the reading, as they in this case, it is a mother, a widow, that is facilitating that meeting for her sons, her children. I think one son and two daughters, I can remember. But it's a widow talking, you know, having the gospel at home with her children. And after the reading, then her guide, her spiritual guide, is influencing her to teach her children what that reading, what that lesson is about. So that's why it's so important for you to concentrate, because sometimes you will be influenced by your guide, but it's not supposed to be a mediumistic meeting. It should not turn into a mediumistic meeting. And that is very important information, because there are so many mediums, you know, within the families, and it's so easy to get distracted. But no, it's not about it. It's not about mediumistic meeting. And also, more than anything, the gospel at home cleanses the spiritual atmosphere of your house. You want to do that because that is one of the tools that we have in hand to protect our house, to harmonize all the folks living in that household. And it is a very powerful antidote against bad spiritual influences. The spirits, they say that if one house in the whole street, if one house is doing this gospel at home, is praying together, you know, one family is praying together, the entire neighborhood, the entire street is gonna feel the benefit. It is that powerful. So I put it over here, a link to this lesson, the gospel at home. Just a sec. Okay. The gospel at home, it is 30 minutes, but if you put in a YouTube lesson 7, the gospel at home, then it's somebody from the Spiritist Federation here in US. She's Brazilian, but she's speaking in a very good English. You know, she's giving like a small class about gospel at home. It's 30 minutes long. I think in the book, they describe something like this, you know, a scene exactly like this. They're getting close to the house of that widow, and as Andre Luiz is getting close, so he sees the spirits, you know, the spiritual guide of that lady, the spiritual guides of that, you know, family arriving as well. That's why it's so important for us to make sure that we are so disciplined that we pick a day, a time, and we do it. You don't have to be in the house, by the way. Like the last week I was traveling, I did it in a hotel room, you know, but it's important for you to be consistent. And like I said, yeah, as we do it, the gospel at home, even though sometimes you are by yourself, in this case is a widow with her children, but yeah, that in the book they mention all the spirits, they are there around them, and getting, you know, receiving the benefits and being also blessed by all the lessons and passes, hands-on healings that the spirits they are doing in the family, etc., etc. So everybody benefit from this tradition, from this habit. And over here, yeah, I'm just saying, you know, I found this is for kids. but anyway, so it says exactly what I said, you know, you choose a day and time of the week that work for the entire family, and then you will start the meeting with a simple and very sincere prayer and read a quick message. So you discuss about that. You can see that they put water in there, so because you can ask the spirits to bless, to magnetize that water. So then you read a piece of the gospel according to Spiritism, and you engage the folks with you, you know, to discuss about it. And then you end the meeting with a closing prayer, you know, again, sincere closing prayer, and then you can drink the water. Again, not only your house, your family will benefit from it, but the entire street, according to the spirits, what they say, the entire street will benefit from it. And when I do over here, really, I know there are some folks over here, they're not so spiritualistic, if you will, but I pray for them. I intentionally pray for them as well. So, you know, for my own benefit, because I know there will be, if they are harmonized, hey, my place is going to be harmonized as well. This chapter 41, I think, is the last one. Among Us Trees is also a very interesting one, because it talks about the spiritual activities in the countryside, and also talks about the urgent need for the men to preserve the nature. Again, guys, this was a book that was written in 1940, and we were already talking about preserve the nature. So the spirits that were talking about it already. It's not something new. So and then Aniceto, that's the guy that is facilitating that trip to the earth with Andre Luiz. So he's saying that only 1/3 of the disconnected people actually work in the daytime activities only, because the rest of them, they do not need resting period. They do not need to, fall asleep. They, given their understanding, they know, but some still feels tired. And it's all based on what Leda was saying, a few minutes ago. Is based on the density, how dense the spirit is, how attached to the physical life that you used to have. What is your idea? What do you believe? And if you believe like you don't really need anymore, you fully understand, now I'm spirit. Hey, I do not have a body to rest this body. So then you do not need to take breaks and fall asleep. Aniceto also says that the field is a more abundant and vigorous reservoir of vital principles. Remember vital fluids? Remember the cosmic fluids? So the countryside is abundant and vigorous reservoir of vital principles, unlike the forest. And the reason is because of the wind. So he's not saying that the forest is not a good place. No, it's a wonderful place. But for people like them, they were doing a certain type of work, and they needed to use those vital principles, those vital fluids. So they were harvesting the vital fluids. So they were there where the wind is. So in the forest, the wind is prevented from circulating freely due to the high vegetation density. He also says that in the city, the atmosphere is, so when he's talking about the city, the atmosphere is compact due to the mental density, and the air becomes suffocating. It's nothing new, right? We can imagine a bunch of crazy people living together, getting mad, especially in traffic, at the 97 degrees. It's suffocating, yes. Gloria, please.
For a few years, I was living an hour away from Baton Rouge, and my office was in Baton Rouge, and I would work all day at the university, and then I would drive through the country to my house, which was about an hour away. And what I noticed was, as soon as I got across the Mississippi River and out into the country, my whole body would relax. And in the morning, when I was driving into campus, I'd feel really good, and I'd get across the Mississippi River and I'd drive into Baton Rouge and I'd tighten up.
Excellent. Yeah.
I would experience that physically. What this is describing, I experienced it. Yes.
What you did when I was in college, I used to take a pathway that I didn't have a car in Brazil. It's not all the youth guys, we do not have cars. It's very expensive stuff. So I was taking the bus to go to college, and I remember I choose all the time to take 2 buses back and forth to go to college, from home to college. But that route was passing by the shore. I could see the ocean, the bay, and only by passing oh gosh, it was like, I could feel the cleansing, happening in my body. So yeah, the beach side as well is something very nice. The countryside is very nice for that specific reason. And in that chapter, something happens. A guy that he hurt a mule, I guess, and then something happens. I do not know if you read the book, but immediately he ended up suffering the consequences of, you know, what he was doing for a long period of time, mistreating that animal. And then Aniceto said, you know, after a while, then that guy got involved in an accident, and he ended up in a very miserable condition, but it was just a consequence of his own wrongdoing. And then Aniceto said, well, nobody disrespects nature without the painful return shock every time. So is, again, you know, everything is part of the creation. We are supposed to take care of this. We are like tutors. And if we do not understand that, fine, but at least do not, how can I say, disrespect, right? So treat it with respect. So that's the end of the whole thing. You know, what Andre Luiz wanted us to understand from this book. First, humbleness. Remember, all this book series was written anonymously, because anonymously, oh my goodness. So Andre Luiz is not his real name, right? It's just a code name. Also, he wanted us to understand that we do not become an angel or a higher being just because we die. It's just another step in our evolution. So, and then he said the transition will not do anything for us unless we work on our inner transformation. So it's us. It's about us working in ourselves here and now. So we have now, that's something that Andre Luiz emphasizes in every book. We have now the opportunity to change our destiny. In his own words, turn on your lights before crossing the great shadow. Seek the truth before the truth surprises you. Sweat now, you won't cry later. Like what Maria was saying, you know, do the work, but not the work that, or the good that you believe is good for you to do. Check on somebody else's need. Pay attention to the other. I remember Mother Teresa of Calcutta. She used to say, in one of the interviews, a journalist asked, Mother, what is your God? Who is your God? And then immediately she said, the other. When I see the suffering of the other, when I see the hunger, when I see the need of the other, that is my God. That's what I live for. So she was one of the person that she knew to actually see the need and do the good because of the need, not what I think I should be doing. So Andre Luiz wanted to educate us with this book, and he actually expects, you know, that we enlighten ourselves by overcoming inner barriers. You know, he's kind of showing to us a very good image of what we incarnated people, what we are doing, but he also says what we were supposed to be doing based on the consequences, because he's showing what happens to folks. Like today we were talking about the peace fields, you know, people not believing in the afterlife. What happens? So this is the time, guys. And then another good lesson from Andre Luiz: the learning path is infinite. If you mess up this time, You shouldn't, but hey, that's okay. We have the whole time to review and redo and get back to back on track. He also talked about acquiring balance and discernment. So if we really want to advance, we have first to discipline our mind, our heart, our reasoning, our emotion. So first, we should educate our words, our mouth. It's so hard sometimes to hold on, do not say it, not keep to yourself. And then once we do that, we should discipline our thoughts. That's time to discipline. It's so hard to not think about bad stuff, not be guided about bad stuff, is a huge challenge, and takes a lot of effort to educate our thoughts. But once we educate our words, thoughts, then it's time to go to our hearts, and then we'll bring that lesson to our hearts. And last but not least, apparent life versus intimate life. Again, remember Andre Luiz, he was this guy that was keeping a wonderful life, right? Like his incarnated life, his life as incarnated person was spotless. And then he thought it was his job, he was supposed to be doing. But his intimate life was in bad shape. So that's what he's calling our attention for, First, with Astral City, he's talking about his own situation. But then with the messenger, he's talking about other people's situation. It's not just about him, but everybody, anybody, right? And that's the end of it, guys. Questions or comments or anyone? I guess.
Of course, I've got some comments.
Yes.
This is Chico Xavier writing with Andre Luiz, and all of this was 50 years ago, 80 years ago, 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's much more up-to-date information on this from Jürgen Siever, who bears mention, because he talks about exactly the same thing, only he talks about it 3 years ago, not 30 or 50. He talks about an area which is a dimension very close to the Earth dimension, very similar in many ways, in that there's garbage strewn around, there are unpleasant areas, there are ruined houses. He's not talking about a lower dimension, he's talking about the dimension nearest to this one.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentions and goes on about at length the fact that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people live their lives there, and they don't know they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
They commute in a facsimile of their cars. They go to parking places, they swear at each other, they smile at each other, and none of them know they're dead. And they carry on with their daily activities on and on. He has been in there a few times on a mission of goodwill, and it doesn't work because he has to be in that dimension as well. And when he says, oh, look, I can raise myself off the ground, well, he can't, because the dimension is so ferociously created by the people that are in it, mm-hmm. that it affects his abilities as well. Mm-hmm. Because normally his method of showing somebody that he's in the afterlife is lifting himself 3 feet in the air and saying, look, I'm 3 feet in the air. Is that possible unless what I'm telling you is true? And that works in many cases. So I mentioned this just because there is some plenty more up-to-date information on this. And also the anthropologists, when they first went into the Amazon jungle 100 years ago and met tribes, plural there, they would say to them, what's the next life like? What happens when you die? And they say, well, nothing much. The next life is just like this one. The next plane is identical to this. And then they said, but it's not like your place. And then the anthropologist said, what do you mean, my place? The place you come from, which is the city where people live in boxes. And you get up in the morning and you get in a box and you move along, and then you go to another box and you spend all day in that box. And then you come out again, get in your box and go back home again to your home box. Very strange. We bring our children to observe these insane people, which is you. And the anthropologist said, well, what do you mean, us? And he said, well, let me draw it for you. And in the dirt, he drew Long Island and Manhattan and said, this is a place where the craziest people live in boxes. Is that where you come from? And well, anyway, it was an eye-opener for the anthropologists. And of course, they reported it back and it was dismissed, unpublished. It will not be published. Anyway, sorry, Leda, your turn.
Yeah, that's the materialistic view.
Yeah, I just like to add to this. You said, Giles, that there are many people who died and they don't know that they have died. And that's the importance of this work of Andre Luiz. We insist on this work because it was the first that gave us the notion, for instance, of this layers of dimensions in the spiritual world. So some people don't know that they have died is because they are in a dimension very close to Earth, and they don't realize that there are others. They just, like in the mediumistic meetings, we see that all the time. They just think that their families and their loved ones have vanished, have disappeared. They don't understand that if they are lighter, if they have lighter thoughts, and if they pray, they will access these spirits that are in lighter dimensions. So the richness of this work of Andre Luiz is that it was the first to bring these ideas, these explanations in such a scientific way that had never been done before. So these are works for us to study, even being like 50, 60 years. It's a revolutionary work because it explains like nothing that I've seen before, how the spiritual world
Leda,
works.
I have to mention that Buddhism contains social work in the afterlife. And for them, it's a very big deal. And some Buddhists have been known to say, I will not go to heaven until everybody else is gone. Everybody else is left.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's rather arrogant because that means they're going to be hanging around for 1 billion years. I don't agree with it, but it doesn't matter because it's a wonderful statement showing that people do care about social work in the afterlife, and they have been caring about it for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Now, Christians, of course, it's another story, but Buddhists, they have a fine attitude towards things.
Yeah, and to add to what Leda was saying, you know, what I like about these books from Andre Luiz is, yeah, it might be, you know, 60 whatever years ago, but other than explanation, it talks to me because is a guy from same Western culture as mine, and not only talks about what happened to me based on my decisions, but also he points what I should be doing now to avoid that. He points what my role should be, what I should be doing. Like Giles was saying, social work is one of the things, right? So, but how to bring that social work to the heart? It's not just about donating money. It's not just about going out there and cook food for, tons of people. You might be doing this, but is that social work in your heart? It's like prayers. It's not just about saying words.
Anna, you can get into a tremendous amount of splitting hairs there, and theologians of different religions can sit there and pontificate about it, just like the papal pontificate would. For years, the social work in the afterlife only consists of one thing: helping people that you're able to help. And that means putting your time in. So if you put your time in, whether your heart is in it or not, you're putting your time in, and it has benefits. So
it does,
and I agree. If you're doing it to benefit yourself, well, okay, then it's still benefiting others. And so it's hair splitting, and
I'm not saying do not do it. What I'm saying is it's better for you to, if you bring your heart with it, then
yes, of course. Yes, of course. And there's another thing too, is would you not get fed up having done 3 months straight social work 24 hours a day? Of course you get fed up. You want a break.
Yes.
You want a break. And if that 3 months doesn't wear you down, then 3 years will wear you down, because there's no sleep in the afterlife. Or at least you don't need to sleep, but it doesn't mean you don't need to rest or do something different. So I'm not trying to be.
There's no time over there.
I don't know where you get that idea from, but if you have no time, nothing happens, which is why the universe became bursting into existence, because nothing was happening.
That's your belief.
Yes, it is. And the universe is full of entertainment, and we will get to the afterlife, and I will drop an apple for you on the ground and say, it took some time to reach the ground. Are you saying there's no time in this place?
Yeah. The closer we get to Earth, the more time. I remember when we were reading we were discussing Astro City, that we were talking about, for example, in the movie, they show this Andre Luiz beard, that means time was passing by, because it was a region, a dimension so close to Earth that time is
I'm not saying the time wouldn't be different, and I'm making no judgments about that. I'm just saying that time and space go together. If, as Einstein pointed out, and if you've got space, you've got time, and if you've got time, you've got space. They are indistinguishable. You cannot separate them. So I'm not saying that time is the same as in Earth. I'm saying that the same rule applies. That if you have no time, nothing can happen, because it takes time and space for things to happen, and plenty of it happens in the afterlife.
No doubt. Leda, please.
I have to say, Giles, that one size does not fit all. So some spirits may not need time to rest, like the governor.
I like logic, and I'm not abandoning logic until I've got a really good reason to.
Yeah, like we were saying when we studied Astro City, the governor, he doesn't have much rest time. But he in that book, they say that he wants to make sure that everybody else does have their rest time. And Andre Luiz, after his first 24 hours of work, he was so exhausted that he wanted to rest. And that's when he got out of his body. he slept and he got out of his body, and he could meet his mother, who was in a higher place, right? So they do have rests. Some need more than others. That's just what it is.
No, never saying they do not have rest. I'm saying that as normal humans, you want a change of pace. If you don't sleep, then because you don't need sleep, then you'll want a change of pace, a change of activity, a break. And you've used the word 5 times. You say rest time, break time, period time, time. Of course. Carol didn't argue about that when you used time.
Gloria, please.
Yes, one of your screens, it said that about 1/3 of the people just worked in the daytime and then they were resting. But that meant the other 2/3 were working the whole time. They were. So what that said to me was that different vibrations can be working together on the same level.
Yes.
So it's not, we're not separated by advanced vibration, that there's this mixing. And that was a new, really, that was kind of a new idea for me. So I just wanted to clarify that.
And it goes also with the understanding that you have, right? So like we were saying, the more attached to the physical life you had on Earth, the more belief you have, associated with that life, then the more dense it will be. But as you get more and more clear on your condition, on your situation, you have better understanding, then your body becomes, I do not know how to say that in English, but you feel lighter, and you get into a higher vibration, to the point that when Andre Luiz was glowing, he noticed for the first time that he was glowing. That means that his vibration was changing, was getting, more elevated. So as you do that, you understand more, I guess, then you will feel less and less need to follow same behaviors as if you were incarnated again.
Leila, sorry, I'm jumping in before you, but I want to agree with you, Anna, that Jürgen Ziva discusses the leaving of his astral body and going to another section, another height, that you leave the Earth planet and then you're in the Earth plane, and then you're in your astral body. And you go through a series of activities and years or whatever it may be. But then in order to advance, you have to leave behind the astral body. Do another kind of dying, which then gets very complicated, because what are the words for this kind of thing?
Remember when we were talking about the mechanics of mediumship that we discussed, we have several layers of our body. As we go higher and higher.
That's it. But to leave behind the astral body is a fairly confusing experience to talk about while we are still in our mortal bodies. Sorry, Leda, your turn.
No, I just want to say, like this couple that we've studied today, Ismalia and Alfredo, they were in different vibrations, in different densities, like Anna said. But the higher spirits, they can thicken, or they can.
That's a good point.
They can get materialized, denser. So that's why Ismalia comes to stay 6 months a year with her husband. And so the higher spirits, they have different ways of working with the more materialized spirits. And especially when they have missions, they have special missions, they get together to do certain tasks, Gloria, when they have, like in this book that you've read, I guess, Liberation, right? I think Giles read it. Someone read it. So there is this spirit Matilda, I guess, and she is a very high spirit, and she works with Andre Luiz and the other spirits to assess the lower spirits, but they work together through mediumship, and sometimes they have a way of becoming denser, really.
Well, what Leda, what you're saying is that the spirits in the other dimensions, say you're in dimension 6, you can go up to dimension 5 and down to dimension 7. Because this is a difference in speed. Now you can go up to level 5, but you will not be comfortable.
Yeah,
And
that's what it
be
is.
painful. And then you will return to level 6. Now, when you go down levels, you are in danger of getting trapped, which is why you need higher level guides to go with you to stop that happening. If indeed you have a pressing need to go to a lower dimension, I think you can go down from 6 to 7 without hurting you very much.
Yeah.
And without fear of getting lost. And just like you can go up to 5 and you will have a good time, maybe, if you can stand the extra brightness.
In special occasions, probably.
Yeah, so I think there's a certain amount of travel allowed between dimensions, or that can happen.
Yeah, that's what it is.
While special situations, going down to a really deep, nasty, low level, very dangerous for spirits on higher levels, and they need to go in groups, and they need special knowledge to deal with it, because it is not easy. Anyway, the social work of going to the next level that we're going to immediately after. Remember, there's 5 kinds of people there, and this is worth remembering. There's ones that are asleep and dreaming and don't know it. The ones that are asleep and dreaming and do know it. And they're still incarnated on this planet. Then there's the ones who've died and don't know it, and the ones who've died and do know it, and they're hanging around anyway. And then there's visitors, and visitors can come from lower dimensions or higher dimensions. So life in the next dimension to this one is very complicated, because you don't know what you're looking at until you've taught yourself a good deal more. Sorry. Okay, that was it.
No problem.
That's it, Giles.
Guys, it's been 1:30 minutes here, so I wish you all a wonderful week, wonderful weekend. Again, no meeting next Saturday, but then I hope we'll see each other on the following one, at least. Okay.
Have a good trip, Anna and Giles.
Thank you.
Hope
See
to
you guys
see
then.
you.
Yeah, see you all. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.